So, da sind wir wieder. Wie gesagt, ich weiß noch nicht, ob ich das jetzt als eine zusammenhängende Folge mache oder ob das eine separate ist. Falls es eine separate ist, einen wunderschönen guten Tag. Ich bin's wieder, euer Showtime. Wir schauen uns gerade die alternativen Enden von Divinity an. 1 und 2 haben wir jetzt bereits angeschaut. Und jetzt kommt das dritte und ich bin tatsächlich echt gespannt. Ob das jetzt wirklich ist, okay, wir lassen uns läutern und zack, das war's. Glaube ich nicht, aber naja, rein theoretisch müssten wir als leere Hülle zurückbleiben. Von daher, ich bin sehr gespannt. Wir wählen jetzt zulassen, dass du und die gesamte Welt von eurer Quelle geläutert werdet.
And so it ended. A tale that began with my own ill-fated attempt to rid the world of the godwoken. Dallas the Hammer, the secret eternal, purged the godwoken and used the source to close the veil to the void. The world was saved. Statues in memory of the godwoken who sacrificed their source were erected all across Rivellon. They would never be forgotten. The half-demon Malady took pity on the soulless, godwoken silent monks and brought them to the Hall of Echoes. There, from the scraps of their souls that remained, she restored them to life. Sorcerers no more, they lived out the rest of their lives, freed of the burden of being the godwoken, freed from the weight of the world. As for me, the godwoken sacrifice severed the link that bound the sworn to the God King, and I was finally free. To atone for my sins, I spent the rest of my days taking care of the sick and elderly, telling the story of the godwoken, that the world may never forget the greatest heroes Rivellon had ever seen.
Okay, da sind wir wieder. Eigentlich jetzt eine seelenlose Hülle. Noch stehen wir hier erstmal ganz gut. Skills können wir auch noch wirken. Okay, egal. Wir schauen mal. Wir führen mal unsere Gespräche wieder. Mal schauen, was Melody zu sagen hat.
Melody stands tall and proud, sunlight sparkling off her mask. From here she looks almost angelic.
Well, here we are again. You, me, and the ship I've saved from ruin for your personal benefit. I'd say you owe me, but why state the obvious? Ah, there you are. More than a silent monstrosity, less than a god. In the end, I'm not totally convinced it was worth my while to restore your consciousness, seeing what you've done with it so far. Where did I go wrong?
Okay, sagen, dass es dir leid tut, sie enttäuscht zu haben, dass du aber das Richtige tun musstest. Wir sagen, dass sie in Lucien einen guten Verbündeten finden könnte. Ist das denn nichts wert? Sie fragen, wie sie das geschafft hat. Wie konnte sie von der Läuterung retten? Ihr für alles danken? Wir fragen mal, wie wir vor der Läuterung gerettet wurden.
How is so boring. It's the why that surprises me. Unfortunately for me, I've grown rather fond of you.
Ach Gottchen.
Still, I'd expected quite a bit more from you. I was interested in being owed a favor by a shiny new god, not some emperor of the realm. Never mind. I'll find another way. I always do.
She fingers the mask covering her face. For a moment it seems as though she's about to remove it, but instead she places a hand on your shoulder.
We've come a long way together. I did my best by you all the way. Sacrificed much. And I'd have given even more to see you fulfill your destiny.
She looks you up and down.
I guess this will have to do. Take a moment, why don't you? Relax. Enjoy. I certainly plan to do the same.
Okay, ich würde sagen, wir gehen jetzt hier einfach mal fort, weil wir haben uns das alles ja schon einmal angehört.
Until next time.
So, der rote Prinz. Er war auch eine seelenlose Marionette. Mal schauen, wie es ihm geht.
What the cat dragged in. A silent monk. At least that's what you'd be if it weren't for malady.
Was hältst du denn von Luciens Rückkehr?
Like I would about the return of the codpiece. That it's highly unfashionable. The man's a man. All too prone to the weaknesses of the heart. We've seen the results of his errors firsthand. I give it a week before he errs anew.
Ein schwaches Herz, sagt er. Aber was ist mit Sada? Ist er nicht auch recht anfällig? Ihm sagen, dass du Lucien vertraust? Ihm sagen, dass du das Bild von ihm mit einer, was? Schamkapsel nicht mehr aus dem Kopf bekommst. Okay.
He laughs boisterously.
Of course, I could give it the distinction of class.
Ein schwaches Herz, aber was, okay, wir sagen auch, dass er anfällig ist.
Yes, well, that's to say, that's love, not... All right, you made a point. Besides, Lucian, perhaps even a god deserves a second chance, even if he is a god without powers. As for myself, I'm counting on a second chance as well.
Ihn bitten, sich zu erklären.
Why, I mean my empire, of course. I intend to go home as soon as I can. After all, I've dragons to raise. I need to teach them to be good boys and girls before they set the entire world on fire.
Gut, jetzt wiederholt sich's wieder.
There may be an accident or two along the way. Can't be helped, I'm afraid. I do so long to see my palace again. The Forbidden City.
Ich überspringe das
all
mal.
day in perfumed shade.
Das kennen wir alles.
I long to be with Sadher.
Wir verabschieden uns.
But before you go, remember how when we first met, I took you
Ja,
by
ich
the
nehme
jaw
jetzt diesmal
to inspect
zweitens.
you? Is that so? It must have been someone else. Had you partaken in my little questionnaire, I'd have assessed your
Das kennen wir
skill
alles
and
schon.
nothing
Ich
but
überspringe mal. Was meint ihr? Die Augen verdrehen und gehen. Das hatten wir noch nicht.
But where are you going? Really? It's the lack of manners that I find so unforgivably disgraceful.
Okay. So, dann schauen wir, was die anderen noch zu sagen haben. Ich würde die Sachen, die wirklich eindeutig, ja, doppelt und dreifach jetzt gehört wurden, die würde ich überspringen. Interessiert euch wahrscheinlich eh nicht. Bei ihr und bei ihm hier hinten wird wahrscheinlich wieder auch nur der erste Satz interessant sein. Mal schauen.
No more source, no more powers. Don't worry, darling. I know you have plenty of other qualities.
Okay, ja, die Frage 1 und Frage 2, also anmerken, dass du auf eine andere Charakteränderung ihrerseits gehofft hattest, kennen wir schon. Fragen, was die Zukunft für sie bereitet, kennen wir auch schon. Ich bin mal drittens. So, schauen, was er noch Schlaues zu sagen hat.
I always thought that those who resorted to self-sacrifice were lacking in imagination. I must admit, that was rather noble of you.
Mann, sind wir nobel. Okay. Lose. Lose. Wolle Lose kaufen?
You are a very, very, very lucky person. If Malady hadn't restored us, I'd be a drooling monstrosity, but a vengeful one.
Eine Rachsüchtige. Die sagen, dass es die beste Option für das Reich war. Sagen, dass du immer froh darüber bist, dass es nicht so gekommen ist. Ihr sagen, dass für das Gemeinwohl kein Preis zu hoch ist. Wir nehmen mal erstens.
The realm is a lot more robust than some people give it credit for.
Ja, okay.
It's probably survived much more than we'll ever even know.
Ja, da ist was dran. Sie fragen, was sie jetzt tun wird. Okay, kennen wir schon. Ich breche das direkt ab. Dann schauen wir uns mal an, beziehungsweise hören wir uns an, was der gute Fane zu sagen hat.
Fane is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He leafs through it slowly, muttering to himself.
I see. Intriguing.
He glances up at you, big, empty eye sockets taking in every detail.
Well, there you are. Another fine specimen of your kind. A little leaner than when we first met, and a little less divine than you'd hoped, I imagine.
Was nehmen wir denn jetzt? Also wehmütig nicken, es wäre schön göttlich zu sein, mit den Schultern zucken, die Dinge passieren, lächeln, du bist eigentlich ziemlich glücklich, das hatten wir eben genommen. Es könnte schlimmer sein, zumindest seid ihr keine leere Hülle. Ich glaube, das nehmen wir.
Indeed. Indeed.
Fane looks back down to the book, a bony finger running across the embossed leather cover.
It could have been different, you know? I could have saved them. I could have found a way.
So, was haben wir denn hier? Fane sagen, dass er es dir leid tut und dass du dir kaum vorstellen kannst, was er durchmacht. Sagen, dass es vorbei ist. Es gibt nichts, was er hätte noch tun können. Vielleicht hätte er das gekonnt, vielleicht aber auch nicht. Und für deine Freiheit, ja, entweder sie oder du. Du bräuchst gar nichts. Er mag sein Volk verloren haben, aber zumindest hat er seine Tochter wiedergefunden. Ja, richtig.
Yes. What a reunion that was. I doubt she will ever forgive me for what I did. Then again, perhaps she will understand someday. Doing terrible things for good reasons seems to be a family trait. So, what do you think you'll do, now that we live in a source-free world?
Längere Pause, Abenteuer fortführen, sagen, dass du helfen wirst. Da draußen gibt es wahrscheinlich eine Menge verwirrter Quellenmagier. Ja.
Indeed. I may be one of them. It seems we are all facing a brave new world.
Jetzt hat er Zeit für seine Lektüre. Ob er mehr von der Welt sehen möchte. Fragen, ob er auf Abenteuer mitkommen möchte. Wir nehmen mal die Lektüre.
The skeleton hefts Hubert's dog-eared encyclopedia, its weight heavy in his hands.
I've been rereading this book, looking over your history once again, poring over every detail with a new perspective, and do you know what? It's shit.
Fane tosses the book over his shoulder. It flutters in the air as it sails over the ship's railing and disappears with a faint splash.
If you have spent your life staring at a thing, you can write about it with knowledge.
Ich überspringe das mal hier wieder.
You creatures have spent your lives trudging about this world, and you've grown blind to its miracles. Simply that to take otters
Kennen wir alles schon.
octopuses, regardless. The world is filled with absolutely incredible.
Es war ein Vergnügen, lieber Fane.
Oh.
Yeah. Fane nods curt.
So. Okay. Ist doch anders verlaufen, als ich dachte. Ich bin jetzt auch noch auf die Bilderstrecke gespannt, die jetzt kommt. Also sprich, die restliche Geschichte. Ich weiß, es kommt jetzt gleich nochmal ein ganz kurzer Dialog mit der Rachefürstin. Nichtsdestotrotz verabschiede ich mich hier nochmal an der Stelle bei euch. Vielen, vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Vielen, vielen Dank an alle, die jetzt tatsächlich bis zum Ende geschaut haben. Und ja, was bleibt mir zu sagen? Divinity 2, unfassbar geiles Game. Also wirklich sehr, sehr geil. Ich bin gespannt, ob es irgendwann nochmal einen dritten Teil geben wird. Also sie haben ja hier und da auf jeden Fall einige Teile, Storylines, nicht offen gelassen, aber durchaus hier wieder angesprochen, dass man sie nochmal aufnehmen könnte. Und auch jetzt zum Schluss heißt es, wir machen uns auf zu einem neuen Abenteuer. Also ich wäre für Divinity 3 auf jeden Fall zu haben. Wenn man sich jetzt bedenkt, dass der zweite Teil ähnlich wie der erste ist, aber doch deutlich besser als der erste ist, wäre meine Hoffnung ein dritter Teil, der ähnlich wie der zweite ist, aber deutlich besser als der zweite. Das heißt, noch ein besseres Spiel als Divinity 2, was aber quasi in dieselbe Kerbe schlägt. Das wäre schon ziemlich nice. Das wäre schon ziemlich nice. Naja, gut, das soll es von mir gewesen sein. Vielen, vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Ich hoffe, ihr seid bei den nächsten Projekten, Spielen, Videos, eventuell Livestream mit am Start. Ja, vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zum nächsten Mal. Bis dahin. Tschüss.
It gives me almost as much pleasure to speak to you as I am at the ready.
You look out to the endless beyond. The sun's light plays upon the waves, just as it always did. The sails flutter in the wind, just as they always will. And yet, something is different. You are different. And with a start, you realize where you must go next. You speak the command to the Lady Vengeance, and another chapter begins. At last, the world was at peace. As the races united behind Lucian, Arx remained the center of power. The ancient Lizard Empire opened its gates. The houses disbanded, and the Empire adopted a pluralist quasi-democracy. Anyone could vote for whoever they pleased, as long as the House of Shadows approved. With their queen dead and the Voidwoken gone, the dwarves held the greatest party in the history of dwarfdom. A new king took the throne, the local brewer. 6 days later, he was stabbed to death with a mutton fork. Lucian made amends to the elves. He gave them lands and vast riches from the coffers of the old divine order. But the elves never forgave him. They would not trust humans again. And in a dark forest on the far side of a desert, well beyond the high seas, the Black Ring came together once more. The island of Fort Joy, the old redoute of the Source King Brachus Rex, was turned over to the people of Driftwood to use as they wished. They turned it into a holiday resort. Reaper's Coast prospered. The fisheries returned, and the fertile farmlands produced the greatest harvests the surviving farmers had ever seen. Blood Moon Island became particularly fecund, its soil producing the greatest crops. A particularly crimson-fleshed orange grown on the island became a delicacy across half the world. The Black Pit took fire. The oil there burns still. Driftwood became a centre of industry, trade, and transport. After a long and harrowing journey, Lovric the Waiter arrived in Sicil, where he opened a tavern. The meaty stew became famed almost as much for its food as it was for its greasy, abusive owner. Lagan left his over-demanding wife and began a relationship with a local bard. In the spirit of loving generosity, he returned the ring to his now ex-wife. In a fit of rage, she threw it into the sea. The nameless isle had vanished. Although only open water remained, by instinct ships would steer clear. None of the captains could articulate why. Arx became a great metropolis, famed for its prosperity, its culture, its diversity, and the willingness of its denizens to stab each other in the back for the slightest advantage. Young Han went into the theatre and became one of the realm's most popular actors. Almira and Mihaili settled down on the farm. The locals liked and respected Almira. She never wanted for help, and deals always fell to her favor. She presumed she had them in thrall. The truth was, they just liked her. With no new divine, Malady found herself in a predicament. She had an important problem to solve, but no ally strong enough to call upon, and so her search continued. Having performed the greatest act of necromancy in history, Tarquin found the new world unchallenging. He became obsessed with rumors of another plane of existence. One day he vanished and was never seen again. Ahu the Wizard became one of Lucian's most trusted advisors once more. He always knew that something had changed in the divine. He never discovered what that was, or, if he did, he never said a word. With Amadia silent, the priestess Gratiana left the swamps and re-entered the world. She founded an abbey in the Dragonspine Mountains, offering the last of the undead shelter from fortune hunters, novelty seekers, and ghouls. With Lucian in power, Sahala took the elves away from the world. They grew strong once more amidst the trees of the regrown home forest. Some say her plans for revenge will bring about the end of days. Some say only Tova, her mother, holds her back. Lucian returned as divine, united the races, and became Lord Emperor of all Rivellon. Only Dallis knew that he was entirely powerless. Dallis and you. The Eternal, now known as Dallis, was a secret advisor to Lucian and to his successors. For eons she would walk in the world, and would outlive the peoples and all, and wander alone amongst the dying stars. His run-in with his daughter set Fane on a new path. He travelled Rivellon, recording the wonders he discovered, but always kept a socket peeled for signs of the Eternals. He hoped to find the wife he'd lost, but he never did. Then again, he's still looking. The Red Prince came home a hero. With Sada, he had more dragons. Soon, Prince became Emperor, one who would not use his dragons for conquest. His realm knew peace, and the world did not burn. Lohse returned to her music and enjoyed a storied career as Rivellon's premier musician. Dark moods would at times overtake her, and she would spend long hours walking in the wilds. She always returned with a new song. And then there was you. You returned to the world as one more human among many. Your future was yours to decide. Did you accept your new status with humility, or did you rebel? Only you know the truth. Only you know if you atone for your sins.